Hello. So this video is about one question that I think is really important if you want to live a happy life and sort of avoid a lot of unnecessary suffering. There's a lot of suffering in life that is just unavoidable, and that's really sad. There's nothing you can do about it. But there is a lot of suffering that can be avoided, and I would say in this class I will try and sort of identify a lot of those areas of avoidable suffering. And one of them is to just know as early as possible whether you are more of an introvert or more of an extrovert. Not knowing this can have some pretty surprising results, right? For instance, one friend of mine that I grew up with, she was really good at math when we were growing up, and she's also very good at computer programming. And so she did what a lot of people do. You just sort of go into whatever you happen to be really good at, what you get like lots of good feedback for doing. But unfortunately, one of the tragedies of life is that you can be very good at something, but that thing can be not very good for you at all, right? And this was an instance like that. So she ended up becoming an actuary, and she was an actuary for a while. She did some straight up programming for a while, but these jobs just made her absolutely miserable. She was totally depressed, like really unhappy. And the reason is that she's by nature a very extroverted person, right? The flip side of this, I've seen many times teaching at John Abbott College and in academia in general. You have people who get into academic positions because they are by nature very introverted, and they like spending a lot of time alone in a library. That's so cute. You didn't see it. It's the most adorable kid ever in the history of kids. So people who like spending a lot of time in research in libraries, they'll end up going into academia, right? But then usually if you do that, you go all the way through master's, PhD, and all that stuff, you end up actually getting a teaching job. That's usually what there is at the other end. So you have these people who are total introverts, and they end up in a job where you have to sort of interact with lots of students all the time, and you have to be very almost more like an actor or a performer. You have to be very and this makes a lot of profs absolutely miserable because of this, right? So in terms of to gauge where you are on this spectrum, I would say that a good question to ask yourself is, imagine a time in the recent past when you went to a party or a get-together. That's the kid. See the kid in the background? Unbelievable. Anyway, imagine a party you went to, and it was a really fun party. You had a fantastic time. When you came home from that party, or that weekend, maybe it was like a weekend, or like a grad weekend or something like that. When you came home from it, did you feel depleted and diminished? Like, did you feel like a cell phone that has 5% battery left, and you really need to plug it in now? Did you feel like, okay, I'm done. I had a good time, but I really need some downtime right now. I just want to hang out by myself, listen to music, or screw around on the internet, or play video games, or do crossword puzzles. Did you need downtime after that thing? All right. If so, you're probably more on the introverted side. The more downtime you need, the more on the introverted side you probably are. Do you come home from a party like that, and you feel just supercharged? like a cell phone that's got 100% battery. Like you just feel so alive, almost like high, filled with energy, right? If that's the case, then you're probably more on the extroverted side, right? Now, another good kind of thought experiment to ask is, when the last time you had a period where, for one reason or another, you had to spend a bunch of time by yourself. So let's say at the end of the semester you have a lot of essays to do, a lot of studying to do for exams and things like that, and so you just are at home writing papers, doing research, like studying for for like a week straight, and you're staying up late and stuff like that, and you're spending a lot of time by yourself, cooped up. By the end of that period, do you feel sort of the same question, like the cell phone battery metaphor, like do you feel really kind of charged and kind of excited and calm and in a good place after you spend a lot of time by yourself, or do you feel really diminished? Like there's some people I know, really extroverted people that I know, that if they have to spend a bunch of time by themselves for a certain amount of time, like they are just stir crazy, like they're going crazy. Like during this pandemic's been really hard on extroverts. This whole like stay the fuck home thing has been really hard on extroverts, especially the really extreme ones, right? If they have to stay home, they feel just like they're going crazy. Like they're like, let's just go out. I need to go somewhere. I want to be around people. I want to do something. I need to get out. I want to be like in a group, right? So if that's the case, then you're probably more on the extroverted side. Now, I should stress that Carl Jung, who's the one who came up with the whole idea of extroverts and introverts, he said very clearly, he said, a pure introvert or a pure extrovert doesn't exist, and if they did, they would be in an insane asylum. Like there's, nobody is like completely one or the other. It's a spectrum, and it doesn't necessarily have any relationship to shyness. I should say that. There's extroverts who are shy, and there's introverts who are shy. It's more about stimulation and where you achieve your best, kind of your maximum strength and happiness. And so figuring that out and where you are on that spectrum can save you a lot of problems, because there are, let's say if you are a very extroverted person, it probably would not be a very good idea to live out in the country, in a place where you're only going to be around your family for the most part, and there's not going to be a lot of social life, and it's going to be pretty chill. Moving out to the country would probably not be a very good idea if you're a very extroverted person. If you're an introverted person, it might be fantastic. It might actually be one of those wonderful changes that could make you really happy, right? Likewise, there's all sorts of jobs, careers that just don't make sense, right? Now, I should say, to go back to my initial example of that friend I grew up who became an actuary and was a programmer, she eventually quit her job and became a real estate agent. And she's like making so much money, she's kicking ass, she's really good at it. But more importantly, she's really happy doing that, because she gets to travel a lot, during the day. She gets to meet with lots of people, she gets to talk with lots of different people, and it's a job that really works for her, right? So knowing this is one of the ways that you can more intelligently pursue happiness. All right, bye for now. From the top of Mount Royal, in the middle of Montreal, I will see you again.